my name is Megan and I'm the big boss lady of Wood Stencil Co. Today I'm going to teach you how to assemble the wood photo sign. I really like this kit because it's really easy to just swap out this photo whenever I want, and I love the rose gold in it. Let's get started. In your DIY craft kit, you will have detailed instructions, pine wood, your chosen stencil and transfer tape, a T-pin to weed out your vinyl stencil, a popsicle stick to smooth out your vinyl stencil, your chosen colors of paint, foam brushes, 400 grit sandpaper to sand your wood, Gorilla Glue so you can fix your rose gold or black Bulldog clip onto your wood, and a dowel so you can sand up your project at the end. Let's get started. If you take a look at your wood, you'll notice that one side of it has a hole. This is so once you're done your project, you can take your dowel and stick it in this hole. This is so your project will stand up at an angle. Make sure you don't paint the side of the wood that has the hole in it, and make sure it's at the bottom of your project. Cover your workspace with a piece of cardboard or plastic, just so you don't get paint everywhere where you're working, because I'm pretty sure your parents wouldn't like that. For this project, I'm going to be painting the face of my wood white and the sides of it rose gold, the same as my stencil. So right now I'm going to paint my sides. So I'm going to use masking tape or painter's tape to protect the face of my wood. Paint the sides of your wood. While you're painting it, make sure you do very thin coats. While you're waiting for your paint to dry, you can start weeding out your vinyl stencil. Weeding is when you use the T-pin to remove the parts of the letters that you want to paint. Gently prick under the letters, and then you can use your hand to peel them off. The most important thing, make sure you don't lose any of the little pieces that go inside of the letters, or else the letters might look a bit odd. If they do start to come up, just push them back down with your T-pin. Uh-oh, I lost the inside of this S, but I have it right here. So I'm going to try to line up my stencil again and use my T-pin to hold the inside down as I peel the rest up. Sometimes this will take a few tries. It's time to apply your transfer tape onto your weeded vinyl stencil. Just take one quick look and make sure all the little pieces are there. And if they are, remove the backing of your transfer tape. If you can't seem to get the backing of the transfer tape off, fold in a corner just slightly, and that should separate the two. The transfer tape will help you hold down all the little bits in your stencils long enough so you can put it onto your wood. Now you can use your popsicle stick or your finger to make sure there are no air bubbles. I've done my first coat, and in between coats, make sure you wait for it to be dry to the touch before you do your next coat. Make sure you do multiple thin coats rather than one big thick coat. This will help the paint adhere to the wood faster, and you won't have to wait as long for it to dry. Once you've done enough coats and your paint is dry, you can remove your masking or painter's tape. Now we're going to paint the face of your wood. Put masking or painter's tape along the sides of your wood so you can paint the face of the wood without having to worry about getting any paint on the sides. Make sure you do multiple thin coats rather than one big thick coat. And while you're painting it, make sure you go along with the wood grain. My wood grain is going that way, so I don't want to paint up and down. I want to paint side to side. Once you've done your first coat and it's dry, take your sandpaper and lightly sand it. You can do this in between coats to ensure a smooth finish. Once you're done sanding, take a lint-free cloth and make sure there's no dust on your wood. I just noticed that some of my background paint bled, but that's okay because later I'll go over and touch it up. it's time to line up our stencil. But in order to do this, we need to take our Bulldog clip and a photo, and you need to sort of put the photo where you want it to be so you know how much room the stencil has. I want mine to be about here, so it's centered. And then once you know where you want it to be, then you can take a pencil and you can make lines. But make sure they're just very gentle marks around the stencil. And now you can peel off the backing of your stencil. If you can't seem to get it, fold in a corner and that should help separate it. Gently roll off the backing, but make sure you don't lose any of the little pieces. If you do happen to lose one of the little pieces, then you can put it back down and roll over it again. But make sure you apply a lot of pressure when you're rolling over again. There we go, and now you can line it up with the marks you made. Use your popsicle stick and or your finger to smooth down your stencil. This will secure your stencil onto your wood. And it'll help press little pieces onto the wood so they don't come up when you peel the transfer tape off. It's time to take off the transfer tape. Gently roll it off close to the surface rather than pulling it off from above. Make sure no little pieces come with the transfer tape. If they do, just put it back over and push it over again. Use masking tape or painter's tape to surround the edges of your stencil so you don't paint the parts of the wood that you don't want to paint. Do one final smoothing with your finger or your popsicle stick before you paint. This will make sure that your paint doesn't bleed under the stencil, as in the paint won't look a little fuzzy. It's time to paint your stencil lettering. Before you paint it with the color you chose for the stencil lettering, use the background color. So if it does bleed, it'll bleed the background color and you won't be able to see it. Make sure you do very thin coats. If you happen to get too much on your paintbrush, rub some off on a part of the vinyl stencil, and that'll serve as your palette. So if you do run out of paint on here, then you can come and take paint from there. While you're painting, dab up and down instead of brushing it on side to side. Make sure you do multiple thin coats rather than one big thick coat. You'll know you've put too much paint onto your stencil when it starts to look a bit bubbly. And you don't really want that once it's dried. So if you look like you have a lot of paint on your foam brush, take like a surface that you can paint on and try to dab as much as it off. Once a lot of the paint has been removed from your foam brush, go over the stencil and you can just gently dab it and try to take off some of the paint. Once your background paint has dried, then it's time to move on to the second coat. Take the color that you've chosen for your stencil and gently dab it. Right here, it looks like I have too much paint, so I'm going to dab the remaining paint off my paintbrush and just try to make it less thick. Once your stencil is dry, do a very thorough check to make sure you didn't miss any letters. Because there are a few times that I've missed the bottom of one letter and then I have to go and touch it up later. So you rather do it properly the first time. Once you're sure that it's okay, peel off your masking or painter's tape and your vinyl stencil. Try to be very gentle when you're peeling it off. You want to peel yours off against the wood grain. So my wood grain is going that way, so I have to pull it off up to down or down to up. When you're peeling off your stencil, make sure you go very slowly and carefully because you don't want to pull it off too rough because there's a chance that the background paint will come off. Make sure you peel your stencil off against the wood grain. Take your T-pin and remove the parts of the stencil that you didn't get out. Be very delicate, you don't want to scratch your background paint. Erase your pencil marks with an eraser. Right now we're going to attach our Bulldog clip onto the wood. And so you're going to take your photo, so you can line it up and gently Put it onto your wood, and then you can make, I want mine to be out here, and make a quick mark with your pencil. So now we're going to be using crazy glue to secure your Bulldog clip onto your wood. But you have to be very careful because crazy glue can bond your skin immediately. And I'm pretty sure you don't want your skin to be bonded. You need to take extra safety precautions for this. Make sure you have gloves on and you have adult help. So right now I'm going to get my mom to help me with this part.
Okay, so like Megan said, crazy glue. It's a very small tube that we're providing you with. It does bond your skin immediately. So if you happen to get crazy glue on your skin, we recommend that you either use, put your fingers in soapy water to help soften the glue. If that doesn't work, then you can also use nail polish or something with an acetone in it, an alcohol with an acetone in it.
Your parents will know what that is.
Or you can look it up. But to take extra precaution, what we're going to do is we're going to use gloves while we're doing this. To open up your crazy glue, right now, if you look at it, it's sealed.
Tighten the lid to puncture the seal.
I'm going to glue two parts that are going to be attached to the wood. One is the outer edge of the Bulldog clip, right here, and then around the circle. And you don't need a huge amount.
Make sure you only squeeze a tiny bit out, because if it starts to come gushing out, then it'll make a big mess everywhere.
Spread a small amount, line it up, and then push down for 30 seconds.
It feels quite secure, but it'll take a full 24 hours to bond completely. Once you're done your project, you can take the dowel and stick it into the hole at the back of your wood, so you can display your work of art on your shelf or your desk or a bookcase. If you like this wood photo sign or want to try other craft kits just like this one, look for our website, woodandstencilco.ca, or find us on Facebook and Instagram at Wood and Stencil Co. See you later!